It really takes a lot of strength not to lose your mind. Honestly, this play is all about words and like death of language, basically. When Ionesco wrote the Soprano, the other one, we're in the lesson, but the other one, he said it was he was writing the tragedy of language.
Some of the basic aspects of Absurdist Theatre is that, especially in Ionesco's plays, is that he deals a lot with existentialism, and most of the plays deal with their existence, the character's existence on stage. Like in the Soprano, they don't exist. The characters essentially don't exist, but they do on stage. When the character comes on the first time you see them, they are literally born on stage. Like the character is essentially, that's the first time anyone has ever seen that character ever. It does not exist off stage, does not exist anywhere but on stage. So at the top of Soprano, when Mr. and Mrs. Smith are on stage, that's the first time that they exist.
I have to confess that I have never studied playwriting. I have never taken a course in it. I don't have an advanced degree in playwriting. I don't know the first thing about what the rules are, and I just began writing plays because I found writing fiction so difficult. And I was lucky in that when I became a high school English teacher, it wasn't enough to have 5 preparations a day, but I also had to run an extracurricular activity, and in both of the schools I taught at, one in Maine and one in Wisconsin, they needed somebody to run the theater club. And I said, sure, I'll run the theater club, but only if we just do my plays. They were so hard up for somebody to do anybody's plays that they said, go ahead and do it. So I would say if you want to, practice the art of playwriting, you go to the theater and you sort of figure out what a play is, and then you try to find your own voice, and I think it probably does help if you take a class or two. And then, as I said in this talk I gave this afternoon, after you study and take classes, and then you really want to see your work done, you find, you join with your fellow playwrights and actors, and you make theater happen together in your community where you live, in your university, in your college. And then you go to the next venue, in your community. And because to write plays, you have to build up a body of work. So you can't just stay home submitting play after play to important theaters thinking they're going to do you, because, the important theaters have their own writers. So you have to find your own spaces.
It's a really interesting play to see because there aren't a whole lot of other plays like it. Really a thing that will take you completely out of your comfortable real life and throw you into a world that you don't get to see on a daily basis.
Are you guys excited or nervous or what about Tina Howe being here?
I'm crazy excited. I don't think she exists.
I met her today. I met her.
Oh, you did?
On the
she
street.
exists?
Yes.
On the street.
She exists.
She does.
I am Darby with a mustache.
I'm just really excited and incredibly nervous. I don't know how, because she studied the play, so she knows.
She wrote the play.
She translated it, so she knows this play in and out. So how she's going to take this, I have no idea, and how the audience is going to react, I have no idea.
I think the advice that any playwright would give to a young emerging playwright is don't take them seriously. And by that I mean don't take the bad reviews seriously, and God knows don't take the raves seriously, because it can all turn in the blink of an eye. That you really have to write for yourself, and you have to write to massage and take care of your own muse, and if you start believing the critics, you're doomed.
Yeah, Absurdist is just so far removed from modern theater and classical theater. It's
kind of hard to compare.
And it's kind of timeless.
Yeah, I think Absurdist is probably one of the harder ones to do, because I think classical, there are rules to do classical, and there's the method to do modern. But for Absurdist, it's like, how are you going to make this good?
There aren't steps you can take.
There are no rules to do it, but there's obviously got to be a way you got to make it good.
She obviously had some kind of influence on the rehearsal. You guys had phone calls with her. What was it like talking to someone over the phone who knows everything about this play, and you're just like, oh my gosh, how do I do this? Did she answer a lot of your questions? Was it helpful? Or?
Yeah, I think it was pretty helpful. I mean, there was a couple questions that in my mind or whatever, that she definitely cleared up, which was nice, because usually you don't have the you can't just like go talk to the playwright and be like, how did you think this should be said, or like what are they feeling right now? And in this situation we could go and be like, hey, I'm having trouble with this line. How is it? How should I be or like what am I feeling? Whatever. And she is there, to help at least give her opinion.
Yeah, well, for me mostly it was about validation, because we had already been like 3 or 4 weeks into rehearsal. We were like already off book. We were finally getting into the nitty-gritty stuff, and I just wasn't sure if what I was doing personally or what my fellow actors were doing was correct. Like, I mean, all I have is a script. All the actor ever has is the script, and you have to try and create something from writing, and to have someone who knows exactly what it is to translate for you was awesome, because I asked a question and she answered it just how I hoped she would.
It's funny because UNESCO didn't necessarily like the term theater of the absurd, and another phrase was coined, metaphysical farce. I think the way to enjoy UNESCO or absurdist theater or metaphysical farce is to relax and not feel that you are being bombarded by some strange outre philosophy that has hidden coding involved, but just to relax and see what is familiar about it and what strikes a chord with you. And that I think people get very nervous when they hear these expressions: Dada, surrealist, absurdist, expressionist, neo-expressionist, and that the whole secret of enjoying the theater is to relax and go with the flow. And if you do that, I mean, the first time I saw these plays in Paris, because I never studied theater in a formal way, I didn't know who UNESCO was. I didn't know anything about the plays, but the curtain went up, a clock struck 13 times, and the woman sitting on the chair donning her socks said, "Oh, it's 9 o'clock." And immediately I knew where I was, and this was very familiar to me because I grew up in a rather eccentric household. So I think the way to approach something new is to relax and let it enter you, and not to put up all sorts of barriers of feeling either superior or inferior to what you're about to see.
Come see the Bald Soprano in the lesson!